the Japanese take some time before finalizing a decision on investing in India or anywhere else, and as part of discussions we've held with our Japanese counterparts, we've been told that it is a big decision for them to come here, and they would like to come here with families. And as you see in Nimrana in Rajasthan, there is now, even when you're driving through the national highway, you see Japanese restaurants which are offering Japanese cuisine, and there is also an expectation if schools or even clubs for Japanese citizenry could be developed. So we have exchanged this with the state governments. As of now, there seems to be a lot of interest among states and a very positive and healthy competition to invite Japanese investments in states. And we are telling them that this initiative of providing some local ambience, providing schools for children, providing restaurants with which satisfies their interest, and maybe resting areas and clubs would go a long way, because ultimately it becomes a lifetime decision for some of these companies to invest in India and then bring their employees here, who would obviously come with families. So this is part of the greater framework where we are working, and many of the states are responding well, especially Rajasthan. After Nimrana, they've now worked on Keynote, and we've conveyed same to MP, which is now working on Pithampur. So that's where we are.
You work on the integration of the two communities, the local and the global investment. Do you see any integrative movements? Do you see any gray areas where they can connect? Otherwise, you'll have
no, obviously there is a connect. I mean, ultimately choosing India as an investment destination, as a relocation, obviously has its implications. And when I interact with my Japanese counterparts, so many of them are using Hindi terms, as we tend to use Japanese terms also. So I mean, this was discussed in the earlier session, that it is also going to be a cultural interplay and not entirely an industrial and a manufacturing. It has to be willy-nilly more comprehensive and more holistic, and I'm sure that both communities are finding merits in doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Singh. And I think Mr. Bhargava had pointed that out in the first session as well. Abe-san, would you like to respond to the question on migration,
yes,
illegal migration?
Can I clarify? You mentioned the illegal migration. Did I make?
You said the labor migration. Stop. You want government to prohibit illegal migration of labor. What's that?
It was on one of your slides, I think. Prohibit
because
movement
I'm worried,
of labor.
I have already bought a flat in Nibrana. I'm sure I'm not illegal.
Did I say anything about illegal? Can I talk to you later about this? Because labor movement.
It could be. We could discuss this over lunch or perhaps the coffee break. Now it's, I think, time for the coffee break, but we've had a wonderful session which Mr. Bhargava started. So let us thank all the panelists for their erudition and sparing their time, and also Mr. Bhargava in absentia. So thank you very much. We'll have about a 5 to maximum 10 minutes coffee break. Please reassemble for the next session, which is extremely interesting, and thank you for your patience. Let's give the panelists another round of applause.
Well, thank you, Chairman. It is my pleasure to be here to discuss about Japan's role in the building the India's economic infrastructure. Well, I'm Katsuo Matsumoto. I'm from JICA Tokyo. I'm handling the operation to South Asia, including India. So the previous session, they talked a lot about the investment issue. So maybe I can skip some slide because the information is almost the same. Say as the previous session said, that now the investment from Japan has been increasing, and many Japanese companies are very interested in to say coming to India. And in Japan now, there are a lot of the sustainable seminars, symposium, such kind of like say the small such kind of gathering of the private companies that they request us to say make a presentation, and every time say the seat is full. More than 100 to 200 companies get together and would like to know about the real situation in India. That's really the change from maybe in the past few years. And I don't have to say repeat some like declaration of the top Prime Minister's meeting the last time. And Japan's ODA, Official Development Assistance, is part of such kind of 3.5 trillion yen of the financial cooperation between the Japan and India. Well, maybe I also don't have to mention that some like issues. What is the obstacle for the like Japanese investor, not only the Japanese investor but foreign investor, about the investment climate in India? This is kind of like a result of doing business. As I mentioned in the previous session, there are several issues, say like a construction permit. Well, it takes a long time here, or just enforcing contract is very weak or something like that. And the Ambassador Singh pointed out that the ranking is 142, but now in the latest survey it's improved to 130. And if we can see some global competitiveness, of course some like infrastructure is kind of like a big issues. The ranking is a little bit low, and also the technological readiness. It means maybe some like level of the skill or level of the intellectual of the workers here is kind of like other issues. So Mr. Modi's initiative like a Skill India is kind of like very keen to say improve the situation. And this is kind of like issues for the logistics performance. And I don't have to say one by one, but India is still have some problem about the efficiency of the custom clearance. When if you say you can visited some like a port, like Chennai port, we can see the very long line of the trucks, maybe sometimes 10 kilometer. Yeah, and first when I visited there first time that I wondered why such a long line there. It's a parking lot. Yeah, because like many the truck in the like online, and they say it's very congested. Say the car cannot pass or something like that. And they say that this is kind of like clearance matter of the port. So this is one of the just aspect of the issues. And the Japanese manufacturers also did give us some opinion on what is major obstacles. Number one is the infrastructure, and the third is the legal enforcement, and so on. So the infrastructure itself is kind of like a big issue, especially for the foreign investor. And sometimes when we talk about this matter, that the issue is too general. So I need to elaborate a little further about our survey. I mean, we JICA conducted comparison survey of the special economic zone in India and Southeast Asia, and we need to say that there is a very few 5-star SEZ in India, and we assume that just a conservative manufacturer really hesitate to advance into this tougher circumstance. The main reason of this is really due to the lack of the authority of the organization in charge of the SEZ development. I mean, they have no power to handle almost everything, including coordination among the related organization. And also not so good infrastructure system, and the really low service quality of the authorities. In the case of the SEZ in Southeast Asia, sometimes the one-stop service office is located in the SEZ, and this office can support almost any trouble or issues of the private companies, say like clearance matter of every required document, import export application to such kind of like a new business and so on. But also they can support such kind of like recruiting the staff to the newcomer private companies. So our survey recommended that in India, such kind of like development standard of SEZ, well, should be say set in nationwide. At this moment, every state has a responsibility to do that. But say some like standard code, like I say, building code, should be necessary to have such kind of like a 5-star SEZ. And actually, when I talk this matter every time, that the people feel uncomfortable. Oh wow, we just mentioned about some issues only in India. But if we say take some case, very similar case, this is not same sector, but say like a foreign student matter in Japan. That we have a very say good say the assumption about how the Japanese side try to also improve the situation. I mean, now the total number of the Indian students in Japan is 700, and according to the newspaper today, the total number of the Indian students in United States is also 130,000. Yeah, and in Japan, that the number of the Chinese students is almost 100 times bigger, larger than this number of the 700. And now the many Japanese universities and the government try to increase the number of the very excellent Indian students to come to Japan. And when I say had a chance to talk with such kind of Indian students here, because now JICA is supporting the say IIT Hyderabad project, we finance some like a campus development. Also, we just support some like joint research works with IIT Hyderabad professors and the Japanese University Consortium. And the students say that why they should go to Japan. Well, is there a 5-star university? It's a very tough question. So if we can see some issues, say like say scholarship program, for example, very few scholarship program for Indian people, and some like language issue. Yeah, very few students in Japan can speak Japanese, English. So the Indian people have some like a problem with such kind of communication. And in the previous session, some people said about the living condition matter, like a Japanese family, and this is the same as in the like Indian people in Japan. Say like a food. Well, it is said that there are 2,000 Indian restaurants in Tokyo, but Indian students still feel that they have some problem with the food, especially like a vegetarian people. It's very hard to find a very good restaurant. And they also say, well, the rental video service. Well, I try to find some like Indian Bollywood movie in the rental video shop in Tokyo. That's very few video there. So we should also improve such kind of like a circumstance. This is kind of like a very similar, say vice versa situation with such kind of investment matter. Sorry. So I just quickly introduce JICA. JICA is now handling some like ODA operation. And this is kind of like a one-stop shop of Japan's bilateral ODA. Now we can make a mixture of the technical cooperation, loan, and the grant together. And we have like 92 overseas offices, and the Delhi office is one of the largest office, because India has been the largest development partner in the past 10 years. Largest means in the size of the national staff, and also the means of the number of the excellent staff here. And not just in terms of the size of the office. Size is very small. And this is kind of like JICA's strategy to support India. The two pillars are faster growth and inclusive growth, and there's some like a sub pillar. The infrastructure is kind of like one big pillar. And the stable energy supply and the improvement of the transportation network is some like representing the pillar of this one. Sometimes the Indian people question us that JICA support only the economic infrastructure. Our side is know that actually that 30 or 40% of our total support is for the other sector, like a social aspect, say like environmental protection, like a deforestation, and so on. And in the case of like a deforestation, now the more than 20 states receiving our fund to do some like the project, and in the framework of this like reforestation project, say we can also support some like forming the self-help group of the women, and we try to support them how to improve their living condition by say about the raising the income or something like that. And this is just the data for the JICA's cooperation to India. Say 2012 to 13, that the total say our loan commitment is very big, like this. And this is kind of like a list of the project, and this is kind of like number of the technical cooperation. And they say in the technical cooperation feel that they say the like maintenance of the highway or energy saving, and sometimes the leadership training of the manufacturing sector has been done. And so human resource development is kind of like also our pillar to support. And some of my colleagues really complain this situation. Wow, why we so put emphasis on India? So the JICA should change its name. Not the Japan International Cooperation Agency, it's a Japan India Cooperation Agency. No. Please see the size of the India or the potential of India. This is very natural or something like that. Anyway. So today's main topic is infrastructure. And we'd like to say, refer about the good practice in India to other emerging countries. There are maybe 3 items I want to talk. One is the quality infrastructure. Say infrastructure has some like dimensions, not only just the function but also another aspect. The definition of the quality infrastructure needs to be satisfied with several factors simultaneously. Firstly, it must function as planned, of course, and demonstrate expected value. In the case of the metro, like a Delhi metro project, it should provide safety, timeless, and comfortableness to passengers. This is really minimum requirement. And secondly, the quality infrastructure can minimize the external diseconomies as much as possible. In the case of like a power plant, maybe they should need to reduce the emission of the NOx, SOx as much as possible by utilizing the high technology. Thirdly, the cost of infrastructure should be reasonable. Not only just initial investment, but also some running cost should be considered to have like sustainability of the infrastructure. Fourth, the quality infrastructure can also add its value with certain factors, say maybe good design. In Thailand, I was there before that. There was one bridge which name is the Lama 9 bridge on the Chao Phraya River, and every time the tourist bus try to stop at the edge of the bridge because this very beautiful scenery, and they say tourists try to take a photo, and on the way, I mean the top of the bridge, the tourist bus also stop again because the view from the bridge is very great. So many say bus should stop there and very congested now. So it's like a monument, the function. And in Japan, like a Tokyo Station, maybe some of them are there. Now Tokyo Station is not just a station; it's like a shopping mall. And it is said that the income from such kind of commercial activity is now bigger than the income from the railway operation. And also the infrastructure can improve its the effectiveness by good linkage with the infrastructure. Say the port, road, industrial estate should be as just one package. And if such kind of like integrated infrastructure development can be done, that utilization of this like facilities can be really increased and also more effective. This is the case of Delhi Metro. I don't have to say. Well, now 2.5 million people use the metro every day. And it can also reduce number of the vehicles by 120,000. And also, this public transportation can reduce the CO2 emission by 22 million. So they try to reduce some like the external these economies. And now they are doing the phase 3. And I'm a little bit surprised that if the phase 3 will be completed, the total length of network is larger than network in Tokyo. So now some like the Japanese officials ask us that we should continue to support the Delhi Metro. And because of this good experience, that we are now had a chance to support other metro projects in other cities, Kolkata, Chennai, Bangalore, and Mumbai. And Ahmedabad may be coming soon. And this is just an example of the JICA finance project in India, especially the power sector. And we have more than 50 years experience of supporting such kind of economic infrastructure. And until now, that the almost 230 project has been financed by JICA. And I checked some like post-evaluation performance. I mean, some like result of this like finance, and say almost all project had like a rank A. It means that they really demonstrate a good performance. The some project, I mean, like a water sector project, the local government is in charge, had not say good performance. So we now work very hard how to improve the situation, especially such kind of like project under the local government. And the corridor project, I think next speaker will discuss a lot about the DMIC. So I may focus on the just CBIC. Chennai Bangalore Industry Corridor, we JICA was happy to say finalize the master plan, and there are very, very sick report already. And say 8 nodes have been identified, and the 3 nodes have been also selected for the prioritize the node. This is example of the Poneri in Tamil Nadu, and under our survey, well, we also recommend some like infrastructure plan that was just I mentioned that something like integrated package, road, water, solid waste management, and the power. They should be coming at one time, because if say, well, they try to invite the investor that they are not so satisfied with some like a situation, and we divided phasing the project in the phasing, phase 1 to the phase maybe 3, and we just say estimate some like impact of the project, like a total employment generation, and also the investment amount or something like that. And we also had privatized project under this like CBIC concept. And each state, or just the central government, has responsibility for that. And we JICA have some like the timeline, how to support such kind of like individual project. And in the short term, mid term, and long term. And the short term, that we have already started the financing or something like a project formulation study. And if we can see the one, say, our activity, technical assistance for the Chennai port operation improvement. Well, this is come from just I mentioned at the beginning that now we did some like a bottleneck survey. What is a bottleneck of such a long line with the track? And we picked up some like a solution, and we provide some like expert to them, and they try to improve the situation one by one. This is just one small aspect of the support. And in order to support the Make in India policy, I just introduced just one project. This is a very unique project in Tamil Nadu. This is a mixture of the policy reform and the infrastructure development. It means that under the one program, we firstly they ask the Tamil Nadu government that please improve some like a policy, maybe for the investor friendly. And if the policy action will be achieved, that we can finance to the infrastructure. Yeah, this is kind of like idea of the framework of this like a project. And JICA try to say, well, deliver some voice from the private sector say, GCCI and FICCI, CII, and the Tamil Nadu government try to, say, reflect such kind of like a voice as much as possible. And we formulate some of the policy action, and if policy action will be achieved, okay, we can finance some money. And if they select the infrastructure project, this is also try to support some like a private sector activities as much as possible. I mean, say one factory like Toshiba has a program to say deliver their like a turbine to the nearest port, just maybe 10-kilo road. The situation, as a road situation, is not so good. So such kind of like a high technology turbine cannot be delivered by truck. So this finance can be utilized for this like improvement of the road or something like that. So this is kind of like a mixture of the policy reform and the hard infrastructure project. And we try to reflect this like experience to other state under the CBIC framework. One is Karnataka and the other is the Andhra Pradesh. And the other maybe 2 minutes. And we also are now be engaged in the regional connectivity in northeast of India. And now the current Indian government really put emphasis on the bottom up of the northeast area. And we did some survey about what is prioritized like road network and railway network in the northeast. Because they are finally connect to the other countries like Nepal, Bhutan, and the Bangladesh, also the Myanmar. And this is kind of like a result of some like a prioritized project. And we are now trying to pick up some like a section of the road for the next JICA finance. And incoming maybe top Prime Minister meeting that if we can finance everything, this is one result of the cooperation in the Northeast Asia. Northeast India, sorry. And this is a very big picture. That is just a corridor project and the JICA initiative. And not only in the South Asia, but also in the Southeast Asia and also in Africa, we are supporting some like a corridor project. And we believe that now, say, the development trend in the world is really shifted from such kind of like Pacific Ocean to the Indian Ocean. And I think, say, the Southeast Asia is located like a center of this like a development trend, and this like a corridor project maybe can facilitate facilitate to activate your like a potential, much potential amount more. So, thank you for your attention.
Thank you for a very comprehensive overview. And in fact, the next two presentations from the Indian side are on themes which are one of the most creative outcomes of the Indo-Japanese engagement. And that is that since limitation of resources will necessarily imply a very long time period for infrastructure to come up to global standards or standards of our competitors. So can we find some other way of short-circuiting the normal development process? And that was the idea of the industrial corridors, which would come up on the back of the freight corridors. So the Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor and freight corridors were the two initial projects taken up with Japanese cooperation. And now that idea has been extended to the Chennai-Bangalore corridor, and then now there is the idea of another corridor along the eastern coast and a corridor from Kolkata to Amritsar. But essentially the idea is to create islands of quality infrastructure and connectivity which allows you to be competitive with other locations. And I think this is a very path-breaking initiative, and so I'd request our new CEO and MD of the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor Development Corporation, Mr. Sharma, to give his remarks. He's just joined, so let us wish him the best on one of the most ambitious projects of the country.
Good afternoon, distinguished chairperson, fellow speakers, distinguished delegates. At the outset, let me thank the organizers for inviting me, knowing fully well that I am hardly 2 weeks old in this new assignment. But the good thing about the whole thing is that this initiative was conceived by none other than Ajay Shankar sir. So I have this support at my back that if there anything I am not able to explain, he is there too, because he knows it in and out. Even before I came here, there had been a lot of apprehensions. People have been talking about how much time will it take. In India, we have a tendency that we expect results within a day or two, and not beyond 9 months. This is how the population in India is growing. So when this issue comes up, I think we started with Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor, and now we have identified 4 others, but I'll be concentrating mainly on Delhi-Mumbai, which was the flagship initiative of Government of India. This is how, and of course the backbone was, as sir has said, the DFC, the Western DFC, which is going to be commissioned by 2019, and we also plan that by that time we should have enough infrastructure in place in 7 to 8 nodes which we have identified.